Hello guys, Nigel here with a primed Model Works intro there. I'm not taking the piss, I'm just having a bit of fun. Right, this video is on behalf of ARC, Aircraft Resource Centre, where there is a lot of talk, a hell of a lot of threads regarding the B-52 and in particular I guess the Model Collect kits because of their various range of errors. And I've got involved in a lot of those debates. As you know, I did a video buffing up on the buff, and I guess this could be called buffing up on the buff too. But I'm doing a video because I'm involved in conversation around the nose of the aircraft, and it's kind of putting words and photographs on a forum is great. It's great for showing dimensions and stuff, but when it actually comes to what's out there, what the differences are and the errors that I find between the kits, I'm not an aficionado of the B-52. I'm not I don't know that the Model Collect model is 3mm too long or whatever, but I have through the ARC found some drawings and stuff with dimensions, and I can make a few determinations about panel lines and stuff, and the panel lines are what we go from when we do our measurements. So this video is not really all about modeling as such. This video is all about just trying to convey to you guys, anybody that's interested in B-52s, I'm just trying to convey to you my findings and what I intend to do. So we'll get onto the bench. I've got everything that I own in front of me basically. I've got, as you can see, I've got a few, another one has arrived. I've also got the Tamiya 100th, I've got the Revell 144th H. What else have we got? I think that's about it really. I want to get one of those tiny desk ones and do a sort of one-shot video on making one of those. So let's get to the bench and I'll show you what I've got in front of me and how they all compare. Right, so here we go. We've got 4 fuselage sections here, whatever. I've placed them on these white Tamiya Hummer boxes. They're 48 scale Hummers. I've placed them on these because basically the wing section on the AMT kit needs to go through, and this is unfortunately an assembled fuselage. If you look back, I've done a tutorial on how to fatten up the rear of the fuselage, because one of the big issues with the AMT kit is the very skinny back end, so I've fattened that up. Right, so this is the Revell B-52. This is Model Collect, this is AMT Italeri, and this is Model Collect. Going from the top, this is the Model Collect nose section you get if you buy an early G. If you notice, it's got no AVS or anything on it. There's nothing on top of the nose either. Basically, this is the nose you'll get in an early G B-52. I've got a feeling you may also get this same nose in the early H. Okay, I'll have to do some research and check. Maybe someone can tell me down in the comments below. But basically, that is the nose you get. This is the AMT Italeri H, which has basically got the EVS on the bottom and all the pods and lumps and bumps everywhere. Now, apparently, talking to a guy called Steve on the Aircraft Resource Centre, it would appear that all AMT did to make the early version without all the electronics is they just omitted the lumps and bumps, which is incorrect. The nose is shorter on a non-electronics or non-late H nose. Okay, so this nose profile is incorrect. It's not only incorrect for the H and everything, or for the G, the early G, but it's also incorrect. It's just not right. This is the old original Revell Monogram B-52 D kit, which I think shape-wise, I don't know about dimensionally because I can't measure dimensions and stuff. I don't know about accuracy, but looks-wise, shape-wise, I think this is by far the best kit on the market. It's got the nicest wings. It's got the nicest fuselage shape. It's just the nicest tail end. It's really, really nice. The only thing is, it's like, as you can see in the background earlier, I've got the original 1968 kit back there. It's got raised panel lines. It's very, very toy-like. It's very, very simple. And when Model Collect announced the B-52 range, everybody was sort of, yay, at last, we're going to get something great. And unfortunately, it was a bit of a letdown. As I said earlier, buffing up on the buff. Have a look at that video and you'll see my comparison of these three kits, and at the end I give a sort of total running score. This next nose here, this is the B52 G and H. This is the, if you get the later G, old Crow Express or whatever it's called, or the H model, this was the nose that came with that kit originally. Maybe it didn't come with the H, but this is the nose that came with the G originally, and everybody said no, it's too short, it's too rounded, you need to make something different. So Model Collect came along with this one, and if we put them like that, you can see the difference in the length. You can see this, they've made the nose a lot longer, they've added some little straightlets, the chine on here they've put in, it's just massive. That chine is way too big, and unfortunately if you actually look at dimensions, as I say, somebody's put a drawing up on ARC with dimensions, bulkhead lengths and everything. This is actually the correct length. This old version lengthwise is absolutely spot on correct for a late H with all the bits and pieces. Never mind the shape is off, but you know, it's the actual length is okay. This is too long. Now, something about the Model Collect kit I've noticed on any built model I've seen, it just doesn't look right. And when you look at this, here we go, I've lined them up on the same panel line on the edges of the boxes. When you look at this compared to this is the DB resins conversion. Look at the difference. Now that just looks right. Okay, to my eye, that just looks absolutely perfect. You can see the pods on the bottom are the correct shape, the pods on the sides are the correct shape, the lump on top of the nose. I actually think that might be a little bit too small, but whatever. I've actually made a master of the what I think is correct. But you can see the nose has got this sort of chin up sort of look. It's sort of straight down the top and then radius down away on the bottom, and this is just sort of almost, you know, equilateral if you like. So yeah, that I think is absolutely perfect. I think it's beautiful, and that's what I'm going to use. So it got me looking a little bit more. Now, if you actually look at this nose and then compare it to drawings, it's like this nose is too short. Now you can see you haven't got it on this one at all. There's no scribe lines for anything for the radome or anything, which is a shame. All these panel lines here, but the actual removable panels aren't even there at all. They need to be added in. Whereas if you get the early one, you've got them in there. Bear in mind this is too far back for a later version. They actually brought this line forward because there's you got all the stuff in here supporting all the electronics. So so basically this line here should come forward. It's about here where the knife is now. Okay, so you can see that it's actually forward of that point. It's about in between these two panel lines here. So so yeah, what I was talking about, this line here, this is the parting line between the fuselage and the radome, and you can see it comes up very, very close to the edge of the windscreen here. And that is correct. If you look at the Revell kit, they've actually got the scribe line too far forward. It's not scribed, it's a raised panel line, but they've got it too far forward. Hence, the DB Conversions resin nose is too short. So if you're going to add this onto, say, an Italeri kit, you need to extend it by about 1 millimeter to have it in the correct place, or cut this a millimeter away from there. When it comes to the Model Collect kit, as I say, you've got no scribe lines whatsoever. But there are other errors that I'm going to cover now. And what I'm going to do is change everything around and start talking about the profile in plan view. So we'll look at vertical profiles. You'll see there's a gap there. You'll see why in a minute. So basically, looking at I haven't taken these off the sprue because I haven't built the kit, but basically we're looking at the early G one here without any of the lumps and bumps. And you can see that what they've done, they've got basically a copy of this is the original wrong nose for the late G, and basically if you look at it, it's the profile is the same. Profile is the same side on, okay, and the profile is the same vertically, just without the lumps and bumps for the electronics. So basically we've got a nose which is too fat, and it should have a chine in here. More of that later. I have done a little bit of work, and I do have something to show you. It's not just talking about plastic parts, but put these together with the tape, and as you can see, this is the, as I say, the wrong nose that was set out with the late G, and I mean, we can see the shape of the pod on there is ridiculous. These are all, everything's out of shape, but it's basically too fat in profile. You can see that it's way too fat here, and if we, I mean, to my eye, this conversion just looks right. It just looks spot on, and also the Monogram Revell B52D, the nose just looks spot on. So, you know, we're going to use this as our reference. So, as I say, this is what Monogram gave us, and everybody said, no, it's too short. It looks too much like an airliner. The nose should be longer and everything. And as you can see here, when you compare these two, you know, we've lined up this panel line in the same place. They're the correct length. This is exactly correct, this nose length. If you look at the AMT kit, AMT Italeri, sorry, kit, you can see the nose looks very, very pointy, and it looks like what they've done. The fuselage originally came in on a D, as you know, it had a very, very short nose. So on the everything after that had a larger radome, they basically, the angle of the fuselage comes in, and then the radome goes out. So when you get this area down below here underneath, this area down here, there's a chine, because basically the fuselage was coming in, and it was the angle of the cone, if you like, it was coming in more acutely than the new nose. So hence it comes out here, it's slightly wider to get stuff in here and stuff in here. So it's longer and wider, so hence the original form of the fuselage continues up to the back of the radome line, down here and along there, hence the chine. So basically looking at it from the front, the fuselage comes down like this, so you've got your nose here, fuselage comes down, and then the belly's like that, exaggerated. Well, but you know, exaggerated like an F8 or an A7 Corsair. It sort of comes down and then it goes out again, and then basically it sort of all fares off then into the nose. So basically, Model Collect here is just completely and utterly wrong. The fuselage is coming in, it's too parallel, if you like. Here it should come in a lot more up to the back of the radome. The radome should be narrower, the chine should be a lot smaller, but also it looks like they've actually made the fuselage come out here, and it shouldn't. It sort of should come in. Okay, so it's almost like it needs to be a smaller sphere, a smaller circle. If you imagine this is a circle here, it should be smaller. Now I've measured the width across here on the kits, where the radome line should be, or where it is on the Revell and the AMT, and basically the Revell is 23.5 millimeters wide. Now, as I said, the Revell line is a bit too far forward, so you can sort of make that up to about 25, I think, about 24 and 25 millimeters width across there, which, as you can see, this conversion nose fits lovely. Well, it will, a bit of blending and a bit of sanding, it'll fit lovely. If you look here at this Model Collect nose, you can see it's just so fat in comparison. If we do that, you can see how much fatter it is. So the Model Collect is a full 5 millimeters wider here. If we measure it across, let's use a knife. If you measure it across the width of it here compared to the Revell kit here, it's a full 5 millimeters wider. And again, this one's the same, because this is basically from where my knife is back, the mold is exactly the same. All they did was change the cone. From what I can see, unless, yeah, I'm sure all they did was just change the cone. Now the Italeri kit is 26 millimeters wide. So these two are very, very close. And I think the AMT Italeri kit fuselage is actually correct up to here, but then they messed up the radome. So I think a new radome on an AMT kit will look absolutely fine. So I'm going to go and make a radome now for an early G for the AMT kit and the Revell kit, and I'm going to make a radome and underbelly, I think, for the later G and the H, later H, to fit the AMT kit and the Revell kit. Okay, then I'm going to have a look at the Model Collect kit, because I think there's something that can be done. I just want to go back a second, save me doing a load of editing and stuff. I'm just going to cover something I've said in error. I said the form of the early G and the wrong G nose were the same. They're not. This one is much fatter. I've just measured, and I told you that the width of the later nose around here is a full 5 millimeters wider than this one. Okay, you can see it's way too fat. This one is actually 7 millimeters wider than this one. You can see now when you look at those two, this is actually around that line. If you take a measurement across there where the radome joins the fuselage, this is 7 millimeters wider than that one. It's 30.5 mil. So yeah, so basically this nose, although it's the correct length, it's really for the bin. Not good at all. So yeah, the later G nose is the early G nose. The later moulding of the early G nose is basically the same width here as this one, so it's still 5 millimeters too wide. So what we need to do, and you can see on there actually, if I get this in the light, you can see where they've removed the lump from the front. So it's got this huge flat spot on the top. So yeah, so basically, yeah, way too wide. If you look on here, I'll put my caliper in there, and you can see there 28.2 millimeters. So basically, yeah, way too fat. So there we go. Now I'm going to show you this. Now this, well, I think of it, something I must check. I must knock up a cockpit and see if you can actually build the fuselage, the nose section, and then slide the cockpit in afterwards. I think you probably could. So we'll have a look at that. So basically this is a spare nose. What happened was when Model Collect sent me their upgrade set, when they made this nose and they sent you this, flaps, weapons, you know, and a new tail for the incorrect G kit. When I got mine, this was all mangled up, and what I managed to do is straighten out. You can see, if you look closely, you can see some stress lines in the plastic, and I've managed to sort of bend it all straight and glue it together, and now so basically I've got one I can scrap. Now I was using this to make new EVS pods and everything, so basically I removed all the old ones and I've basically made, if you like, a G nose. And what I've done here with this one, because I say I can scrap it, I've sanded the living daylights out of it to try and get the shape to be something similar to this one. Okay, so in side-on profile, I think I've got the shape somewhere handy. I haven't purposely, I know it's not perfect, but I've done it to see if it's possible. And you can see here that, you know, you end up going through all the plastic and that, and if you look down through, I don't know if you can see down in there, but there's, you can see my hand underneath there. There's a lot of super glue and sprue and stuff down in there. So basically this is possible just by sanding. But the problem is with this fuselage, it's too wide. It's too wide here, all of them. We'll forget this one, we'll disregard that one. Yeah, they're all too wide here. Okay, now if you look, I don't know if you can see from the shot we're looking at, but if you look down vertically on here, on this Monogram one, you can see it sort of comes off the lip of the windscreen and it's basically vertically down. And then you look at this one, you can see it comes out quite a lot here. It doesn't come in sharply enough here, and it comes out too far here. So if you look at this one on this side, you can see there it sort of comes out around here, and it should come in sharper. So what I've done here is sanded this one away. So if you can make that out there, what I've actually done is removed the material from here to give it that kind of more, it's more slab sided than the other Model Collect kit. And also if you look at the AMT kit, you can see as well that one is also, it comes in a lot, and it's quite sharp here. It's almost like the front around that radome join line is almost circular, whereas the Model Collect kit is almost sort of oblong. So yeah, so I've got to do a lot of work. The model collect kit is going to be a challenge. Something that's always bothered me is that nose. When you see this nose on the front of a B-52, you know, when you look at it from this angle, I don't know, it just looks much too like a Boeing 707 to me. And I mean, these are a mess. They're awful. They're absolutely awful. These pods. So they've got to go as well. So there we go. And I hope you can agree. If we look at these two together, remember these are the same mouldings. Okay, I think you can agree that already the modification I've done here just by sanding is starting to look a lot more like a B-52 than this one. We've got this kind of squareness back here, this ledge, and the fact that it comes in and then out. It's not a straight, you know, it's not straight here. It comes back here and then it's more acute here. Okay, so it sort of comes along and then out. So there we go, guys. I hope that wasn't too boring for you. But as I say, trying to explain all of that, all my findings in a post on a forum would have been an absolute nightmare. So that's why I've made this video. So as I said at the beginning, you know, please don't leave any negative comments about, you know, how can I follow this? This is boring, blah 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 blah. Because all you do is get banned. I'll just block you. And basically, this was done for the guys over on ARC. They're interested in me making a new nose for them, so that's what I'm going to do, and that's why I've put this video together. And hopefully from this video I'll get responses on the forum, I'll get responses on here, and people can say, did you know that, blah 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 blah, did you know that, blah blah, you know, and give me some help and advice along the way. So thanks for watching, guys. If you've liked this, please give me a like and subscribe. If you didn't like it, by all means give me a dislike, because I probably deserve it. And we'll go from there. So thanks for watching, and look forward to seeing you all very soon with some upgrades.